Freshness of food. Freshness of food means the maintenance of all those features that the product has at the time of its production. Fresh foods are freshly laid eggs or fresh milk. Freshly sliced ham is also regarded as fresh foods, just cut and ready to eat. Freshness of food is a feature that links healthy and nutritional needs, all interests for the food industry and sale. Methods of checking foods. Fresh, non-packaged meats. Check the quantity of fat and its color. Check unpleasant odor. Check the temperature and hygiene conditions of transport. Check accompanying documents for the traceability. Check for the presence of the health inspection stamp. Fresh packaged meats. Check that the package is intact and free of air in the case of vacuum packaging. Check for the presence of liquid. A large quantity indicates a product which has already been kept for some time. Check the temperature of transport and the expiry date, as well as the presence of the health inspection stamp on the label. Check that the meat does not have a dark or greyish colour. This, together with an odour of putrefaction upon opening the package, indicates a change in the product. Frozen meats. Check the temperature of transport, which must be a maximum of -10 degrees centigrade, with a brief rise in temperature of not more than +3 degrees in centigrade, then -7 degrees centigrade. Ice crystals present indicates a product which has been kept incorrectly with partial thawing and refreezing. Check the expiry date and the integrity of labeling and the packaging. Check that the meat does not have an unpleasant odor after thawing. Check accompanying documents and traceability data, as well as the presence of health inspection stamp and freezing date. Fresh fishery products. In fresh fish, we can appreciate rigor mortis presence. The eye is convex, bright, and gills are red. You perceive a pleasant saltiness of smell. Skin is shiny, covered with a transparent mucus. Check the temperature of transport. Fish must always be kept under ice. Check the hygiene conditions of the transport. Frozen fishery products. Check the temperature of the transport, which must be a maximum of -18 degrees centigrade, with a brief rise in temperature of not more than +3 degrees centigrade, then -15 centigrade. Ice crystals present indicates a product that has been kept in the wrong way, with partial thawing and refreezing. Check the expiry date. Check the labeling. Check that the package is intact. Check for the absence of any change of color and unpleasant odors after thawing. Fillets. Absence of skin, fins, membranes, blood clots. Seafood. Check the temperature of transport provided on the label. Check for the presence of the label. In case of live bivalve mollusks, package must be unopened and contain the label. Check the expiry date, which can also be replaced by the words, "These animals must be alive at the time of sale." In that case, it's sufficient to visually check that the valves are closed, because open shells indicate that mollusks are no longer living. vegetables and fruit. Absence of blackening, rots, parasites, dirt ground, excessive wet, flowering and sprouting. Soakedness, moisture, mold or excessive dehydration. Frozen vegetables. Check the temperature of transport, which must be a maximum of -18 degrees centigrade, with a brief rise in temperature of not more than 3 degrees centigrade, then -15 degrees centigrade. Check that packages are intact and the presence of the MTK, minimum time of keeping. Ice crystals presence indicates a product which has been kept in the wrong way, with partial thawing and refreezing. Fresh eggs. Check if A category, 65 to 70 grams. Check that the shell is intact and clean and that there is a code stamped on it. Check that there are no downs, excrements or cracks. Check the expiry date and indications of the farm type and origin on the label. Fresh milk. Check that packages are intact and the expiry date. Check the temperature of transport from 0 degrees centigrade to +4 degrees centigrade. During the fractioned distribution, you can reach +9 degrees centigrade. Cheese. Check the temperature of transport provided on the label. For spun paste cheeses, check that packages are intact, as well as the expiry date or MTK. Mozzarella, smooth surface and turgid consistency. Presence of holes more than 3 to 4 centimeters, only Emmental type cheeses. Presence of swelling. Check for the absence of mold, except from blue cheeses. Detect any unpleasant odors. Cold cuts. Check the hygiene conditions of transport. Check the consistency and maturation level, as well as the aroma and presence of abnormal mold. Check on the label the starting date of seasoning, the ingredients and the animal species or species from which meats originate. Pasta. Check the label and the MTK and check also that packages are intact. Fresh pasta. Check the temperature of transport, maximum +4 degrees centigrade. Check that packages are intact and the expiry date. Check any alteration caused by molds or yeasts. Bread. Check the hygiene condition of transport and that there is no promiscuity with other foods. Check the hygiene condition of containers. Detect any defects in the crust and crumbs, as well as the presence of mold and insects. Flour. Check the hygiene condition of transport. Check that packages are intact and labelled. Check also the category and the MTK. Check for the presence of foreign bodies, parasites and mold. Rice, cereals and légumes. Check that packages are intact. Check the accuracy of varieties. Check for the presence of parasites and small stones, as well as for the absence of grains of abnormal colour and mealy residual matter at the bottom of the packaging. Spices. Check that packages are intact. Check the labelling and the MTK. Check for the presence of parasites and foreign bodies. Ice creams. Check the temperature of transport, which must be a maximum of -15 degrees centigrade, with a brief rise in temperature of not more than +3 degrees centigrade, then -12 degrees centigrade. Check the labelling. Check the expiry date. Check that packages are intact. In case of carton packages, check for any presence of damp spots which may indicate a product which has been thawed and refrozen. Beverages. Check that packages are intact. Check for any presence of wet spots or liquids. In case of clear containers, check the presence of any alteration in the content. Check the label and the MTK. Keep away from heat and light, especially from those in clear containers.